guys, Dusty here. Today I'll be reviewing my most anticipated shoe I've probably ever reviewed on my channel, and that is the Hoka Cielo X1 2.0. The first version of this shoe was incredible. It's easily my all-time favorite racing shoe, and with the new version out now, they've made quite a few changes. With that being said, let's get into some of the basic specs. So stack height, you're looking at 39 millimeters in the heel, 32 in the forefoot for a heel to toe drop of 7 millimeters. My men's size 8.5 weighs in at a very light 7 ounces or 200 grams, and this is coming in a lot lighter than that first version. There's been a massive update with the upper. It's totally brand new, much more lightweight, much more breathable. Gone are the terrible laces that were on the first version. Overall, no issues with the upper, and as far as fit goes, you're going to want to go true to size. However, the width is probably average to slightly narrow. Just keep that in mind if you have a wider foot and require a wide width. Now we move along to the midsole, and you're looking at a dual layer of PEBA foam. I gotta say, this is probably one of the softest midsoles I've ever experienced in a race day shoe. Just walking around in this shoe, it almost feels too soft. However, a lot of that disappears once you start to pick up the pace. And I would say that this midsole is going to check most of the boxes. It's very soft, bouncy, energetic, tons of energy return. And something I'll mention about the ride of the shoe is in the old version, they had a cutout on the lateral side. And now in the current version, they've moved that cutout onto the medial side. And if you combine the placement of this new cutout with how soft this midsole is, it's made this shoe quite a bit unstable, especially compared to that first version. The first version of the shoe was very stable and it fit a whole bunch of different foot types. However, now, especially if you're someone who pronates quite significantly, I feel like that's just going to be enhanced in the new version. So keep that in mind if you're someone who needs a lot of support out there. And then we have the outsole. For me personally, it looks like it would grip just fine on wet pavement. I've only ran in dry conditions so far. However, I know in a few other reviews online, people are saying that this is a slippery shoe on wet pavement. And as far as durability goes, I'm not sure as well. This is my first impressions review. However, the previous version, I can still probably get another 100 miles out of that shoe. And so far I have, I think, 250 miles on my pair. So that shoe has been an awesome investment. I'm getting a ton of miles out of that shoe and it still feels great. I would still use it for race day. So if I can get 250 miles out of this shoe, I feel like that would be incredible. All right, now my experience running in it. So I've done 2 runs in the shoe so far. One of them was a mini workout and I did a 3K threshold session, slightly downhill. And then my other run in the shoe was a 10K road race. Unfortunately, I was actually sick for that 10K, but I pushed through and I was still able to push decently hard. And regardless, I was able to get a good sense of what the shoe is all about. And for me personally, I think that this shoe is a huge home run and a really nice upgrade on an already incredible shoe in the version 1. First of all, I feel like this shoe is much more aggressive in every way. It's more lightweight. It has a much more aggressive rocker to it. This midsole feels like it's giving me a lot more energy return and is a lot more explosive than that first version. One thing I didn't like about this shoe though is during my 10K road race, it was on a course that had a lot of turns and corners. And I will say I definitely didn't feel confident taking corners at high speed in this shoe, whereas I'd feel just fine in that first version. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're looking for your next race day shoe and your race has a lot of turnarounds or tight corners. This might not be the best option for you. And finally, who is this shoe best for? Now remember, this is my first impressions review. I might change this after 100 miles, but as of right now, I think that this shoe is no longer the best option for kind of that back of the pack racer. Unlike the first version of this shoe you're going to want to save for those key sessions or race day only. The shoe doesn't feel very nice at all at slower paces. This shoe just wants to go fast. Also, in terms of stability, if you love the first version of the shoe because it felt so stable, or if you're someone who you need a stable shoe on race day, again, this is definitely not going to be a good option for you. However, if you love that first version of the shoe, maybe you're just looking for something a little bit lighter or a lot lighter, and you could handle slightly less stability, I think this is going to be a huge home run, and that's exactly where I fit into this. I love that first version of the shoe. I just honestly wish it was quite a bit lighter, and this is a lot lighter than that first version. You pair that with what I imagine is quite a bit more of an energetic midsole, which also leads us into price. In the US, you're looking at $275, and up here in Canada, you're looking at $325. And to be honest, that's sort of on par with other top tier racing shoes. I think if you could get 250 miles out of the shoe, then this would definitely be one of the better options out there. And I think that's going to be it. This is just my first impressions review, so stick around and maybe over the next few months I can get this up to 100 miles and give you my full review. And like always, if you have any questions or comments about this shoe, leave them down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. Like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.